D, wait for it, Lightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So today we are going to be reviewing My Little Pony: A New Generation, and I'm here with my friend and fellow YouTuber, Speed Force Spector. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I saw you almost did a whole Next Generation Star Trek thing there. That was funny. Can't really blame you for that one.
Well, it is a long title. I was like, okay, yeah, no. All right, well, before we get started though, I really want to just say that if you guys like what we do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to our channels. YouTube is always changing up that algorithm, and small channels like ours always get pushed to the back of the line. So I please ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and we both thank you in advance. I will leave all the links to Speed Force Spector's social medias and his YouTube channel, so you can check him out and everything, and that'll be in the description down below. So, My Little Pony: A New Generation is a 2021 Netflix movie based on Hasbro's My Little Pony franchise and is directed by Robert Cullen and Jose Ocha, and stars the voice cast of Vanessa Hutchinson, Kimiko Glenn, James Marsden, Sophia Carson, and Lisa Koshy. The film is set many years after the events of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, and is a magic-less era where the story of Twilight Sparkle and her friends has become a mere legend, and the three pony kinds, Earth ponies, Pegasi, and unicorns, have grown apart, living separated from one another in a paranoia and prejudice. The film follows Star Scout, an Earth pony who, after meeting the unicorn Izzy Moonbow, embarks on a quest to reunite all pony kinds and restore magic to the land. So, Speed Force, I just want to ask you, the first question I wanted to ask you is, who was your favorite pony in this movie?
So for me, it's Pip, Hitch, and Zip, and Sunny's the main character, so of course. But I love the main five so far, but those are definitely so far my biases.
Oh, gotcha.
Or as they would, or as the fandom would say, best pony.
Right on, right on. I personally have to, mine's Izzy.
All of my friends tell me Izzy.
Yeah, I liked her before the movie, but that was because I have a bias because that's my daughter's name. But then after watching the movie, I was like, oh no, she's my favorite. She made me laugh a lot during this movie.
Same.
So I enjoyed her immensely. My next question for you is, out of all three species of ponies, Pegasi, Earth ponies, and unicorns, which one would you have been?
That's always a difficult question. Even back in Generation 4, because even for me, I would never know what I would want. But I would say for this generation, probably Pegasus.
Right on. For me, it's unicorn. I definitely like the unicorns. Okay, so my next question for you is, while watching this movie, what were your expectations going into this compared to after watching the movie?
My expectations was I knew this would be taking place in Generation 4. And for me personally, I wanted my friends who never watched Generation 4 to get into this. And I didn't want it to be very pandering to Generation 4. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but I know that the lore and everything from Generation 4 can seem like a whole bunch of homework. So I'm glad that from what I saw before this, they kept it very simplistic. And after watching, I was very happy that it still paid homage to Generation 4, threw in some references, made sure that it was still intact to Generation 4, but was its own thing. And I'm really glad that it was fresh for old fans, but fresh for new fans who haven't touched Generation 4 yet.
Right on. I just like me personally, I me and you have had a video where we talked about this before. I will leave a link in the our card section, you guys. But I watched Generation 4 with my daughter and everything, and I liked everything that I saw. I thought it was it was a fun show. I liked it. It was, it was happy and all that stuff. And so going into this, I just, thought it would be something along those lines. And after watching it, I thought it was different. I definitely like the animation. I don't know how you felt about the animation. That's my next question, so don't worry about it. But I definitely, I don't know if I like it better than Friendship is Magic, or if I don't. I
It's
don't
kind
know.
of that's a hard question,
Hmm.
mostly because this is just a movie TV pilot, so it's very hard to judge right now.
Right on. So my next question for you is, what did you think about the animation of this movie?
So I've talked about this in that last video, IR card on the top to the link, and then on my channel as well. Hearing about this new generation, I was like, yeah, Hasbro definitely took a lot of inspiration from when they worked on Trolls and made this into a big theatrical or Netflix theatrical CGI movie. They got an old fan artist from Generation 4 to work on this movie, which I think it's amazing that fans got to work on the movie. And their art style, like, not because I don't know if it's CG, but it's like painted, I think. Her translated art translate very well into CGI for what this film had, and the pony designs look great, and like the backgrounds and the buildings and everything, they look really amazing.
Right on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so for my next question, what are your overall thoughts about the ideas going on in this movie?
So I'm really happy this movie wasn't essentially Friendship is Magic part one and part two from season one. Like, I'm really glad it wasn't, oh, hey, I'm the villain. You four girls and James Marsden, you go find this version of the elements of harmony. Go stop bigotry from me, the villain. And I'm glad that it was more of an isolated story. Which it was funny today because when I was before this video even started, um, there was an it was an article that was kind of, we talked about this in the last video because I brought it up, um, Clownfish TV, and how they were talking about the plot and everything like that. And I had a feeling because I saw the movie, I was like, I know people are not going to understand the moral, because I noticed that a lot of people were like, "Oh no, you can't teach kids that differences are good. No, no, don't put politics in ponies. No, think of the children." It's like, nah, this movie was funny enough about the older characters kind of starting the idea of ponies being separated and not treating each other nicely. And what I like about Friendship is Magic was, and I think that's why it garnered the audience that it ended up getting, was it had main characters that were probably, like, I would say like 19, close to, or like mid 20s, and they're like cute pastel ponies, so you could just kids won't even notice really. Um, but on top of that, they threw these kind of like teen slash adult characters into after school specials. And also, not to mention, it was like kind of like a part sitcom. You would agree to that because
Oh, right
you
on.
watched the show. And I feel like they took that idea that really worked with Friendship is Magic and they applied that here. And what I think is interesting about how they made the moral and the plot very isolated instead of being kind of like a big, huge thing. Even though like losing the magic part was a huge thing, but like treating each other kindly, that's pretty small considering the cast that we have. And the interesting thing was, it was essentially a movie about how Sunny essentially has two parents, which she has one parent who teaches her about love and tolerance, and we don't know if Sunny has another parent, but the other parent is essentially Maritime Bay, and it's telling her, no, you can't want to have friends with unicorns and Pegasi. That's bad. And then so Sunny's kind of in a position of, okay, well, I want to do the right thing, but it's hard because of essentially this other non-existent metaphorical parent. Then you have um Izzy. I was about to say Sunny again. Then you have Izzy, who essentially leaves Bridalwood, and essentially for her, the unicorns are just completely depressed. Remove the magic aspect, they're just paranoid and they're just kind of stuck in that paranoia, and they're all miserable except for her. She leaves to go meet Sunny. And then for the Pegasi, you essentially have them, and they've been lying because they use wires to pretend that they fly, and they've lied to the whole entire Pegasi, saying, "Oh, well, only royals can fly." And you have Zip, who her rebellious attitude is because of the lying, but also wants flight back and magic back, but to an extent wants a huge escape from all of that. And for her, meeting Sunny and Izzy, that was her escape. And then Hitch and Pip are kind of in this golden child area. Hitch wants to do the right thing, but also when it comes down to Sunny, she has a perspective that is correct and he's seeing it, but he's not really sure, should I stay on a side that essentially like a bubble that's there's no problems and you don't really have to think of everything, or should I actually do the right thing? And for Pip, it's mostly, hey, everything's going well for me. If I ask questions, that means consequences, and those consequences all go back to her mom. And then you have Sprout, who's the villain, but like not really a villain. It's a difficult line because this character is like a complete goofball. You could agree to that because,
Oh yeah.
and essentially, like, he wouldn't do all of the things that he did that were over the top and like very destructive and hateful if it wasn't because of his mom,
I was
who
just about to say that.
essentially has a company that's based on fear mongering of making devices that pretty much say, oh, hey, Earth ponies, protect yourself from Pegasi and unicorns from attacking, when in reality, that's not the case. And for her, like, she has bigotry, but it's very sugar coated, but also her company is not healthy at all. And then you have Hitch, who gets put into power because Hitch left to go after Sunny. And essentially, he takes everything from his mom and takes it to a complete extreme level. And then at the end of the movie, they learn, you know, we don't need this division. We can all be friends. And at the end of the movie, you have Sprout, who asks, oh, hey, mom, did I do a good job? And like, this girl doesn't want to take responsibility that, oh, hey, because of my actions, I accidentally let my son to do a completely horrible thing. I'm not taking responsibility for that one. So I thought that was like pretty interesting that the movie was like so rounded that it essentially had a moral for adults saying, hey, be a good example for your children. And then for kids, it's, hey, go and actually seek out healthy friendships. Um, and for most kids who are living in environments that are essentially Phyllis, but not on those levels, for kids, that is kind of like, oh, hey, this movie's actually telling me that I should find healthy friendships and like actually ask questions instead of believing what bigotry my parents say about others, or if they're young children, other kids. And that was good, and I was not expecting this movie to go there, but I'm really glad that it did.
Right on. One thing that you had touched upon, and I wanted to just ask you about, but real quick, I wanted to get into the question because you had mentioned Clownfish TV. So I wanted to talk to you about a little bit about that. With the morals and the, the thoughts and ideas in this movie, do you think that controversy and anger before this movie came out, do you think it was warranted, or do you think that they just kind of jumped the gun?
They jumped the gun, and here's the funny thing about that. Clownfish TV did not talk about the trailer. They only talked about the kid screen article, so they didn't even talk about the trailer. Still haven't. It's been 3 days. They haven't even talked about the movie at all.
Right on. Yeah,
Also,
go
at
ahead.
the same time, to throw a little bit of shade, they said that this would backfire. It's been trending on Netflix
Yeah, throw shade. Go
for
ahead. It's totally
the
fine.
past couple of days or so, all across different countries. So it essentially backfired on those type of channels. But I kind of go back to what I was saying, that the way that I kind of led into this conversation is before this video, we started to do this video, there was an article, I forgot what it said, but the comment section was essentially, oh, why are we teaching kids this? And essentially, no one saw the movie. And the funny part is that they're actually agreeing to what Sprout and Phyllis did. So the moral went all over people's heads completely, whether or not they saw the movie or they didn't. And that's kind of funny to me.
Right on. Okay, so I wanted to talk about one more thing that I wrote down while you were saying is one thing you had mentioned that Scoop, was that his name? The redheaded or the red pony that became the bad guy.
Oh,
So
Sprout.
yeah, Sprout. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so now he was kind of a villain. I'm throwing up quotation marks because now do you think that movies are starting to move away from straight up villains? And if so, what do you think about that?
Okay, so Friendship is Magic kind of in the more so later seasons, to varying degrees of quality. It's up to whoever it is that, different perspectives may vary, but they've kind of had this whole thing of redeeming villains, even though they may have not should have been redeemed. So there's that. So this is no shock to me when it comes down to Friendship is Magic doing this. So with this movie, I wasn't really shocked that, like, yeah, I mean, essentially there was the villain is just kind of, it's more of just kind of very small and isolated. Like, yeah, Sprout did awful things, but like there's like causing factors of that. But at the same time, like, I can't really say that this character is necessarily a villain, just completely misguided.
Right on.
And in terms of like animated movies in general, it's kind of all over the place. You could either redeem your villain or just have a fun Saturday morning type of villain. So it's kind of all over the place when it comes down to animated movies. So,
And
but in terms of TV animation, it's again kind of all over the place as well.
do you prefer a straight up villain, or do you prefer this more of misguided villain?
I like both. You just gotta handle the redemption and the character well.
I agree. I have to be honest. I personally prefer a more traditional, just straight up villain, but at the same time, I do like the whole misguided villain thing. Except you had mentioned redeeming villains, and it depends on how bad the villain is. Because one thing I don't like is when they take a villain and they've just been a jerk their whole lives, and they do one good thing, and they're like, "Oh, forgiven." And I'm like, "No, no, he doesn't. You don't get to forgive them. They did bad things their
That's
whole life." So
that's me with Starlight. I had this
okay.
conversation today. You know who Starlight Glimmer is, right?
Yes, I think you keep talking, and I'm going to look it up real quick to make sure I know who you're talking about.
Okay. So Sprout's whole thing was you got this goofball who like is thrown
Yes, I
into
know
like
who
a
Starlight Glimmer is.
okay. So like you have like this complete goofball who essentially wouldn't do anything that dramatic, but you have his mom who's like in power of like a really not so great company and also at the same time at a young age telling their kid, yeah, no, bigotry good. I'm just going to sprinkle it with some sugar so in that way it doesn't lead to awful things, but Sprout did the awful thing because of his mom and Maritime Bay in general. But then you have Starlight who's like, I'm gonna I'm gonna go somewhere, create a cult, remove cutie marks. Oh no, Twilight stopped me. I'm gonna go back in time and make sure that their lives get messed up. Oh, I'm redeemed now because friendship. And then she goes ahead and does like awful things over and over again. So it's like it's one of those I brought up Starlight because I'm like, yeah, no, like I don't know what Friendship is Magic was thinking during that time, but oof.
I just want to say real quick because you had mentioned the mom and her company a couple of times. Her mom's company, those products were terrible. The whole time I'm all like, why would like if I went to one of these, I'd be all like, I'm not investing in I'm not buying one of these products. I don't care how much you tell me unicorns can read my mind. That's that's just styrofoam, a styrofoam helmet. I can make one of those myself. So
My favorite joke was the balloon pony
yeah,
and like
right. Did I miss anything? Okay. So you had kind of mentioned it, I think, at the beginning of this. So I personally wish they would have explained in the beginning why the three pony races had separated since friendship is magic.
I'm
Um,
glad you brought that up.
yeah.
And I kind of already know where you're going with this. And
Well,
that
what
kind
do
of
you
go
think? Go. So finish your thought. I'm.
yeah. That kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, how I liked how grounded this was and it wasn't big dramatic villain, ponies go off on a big adventure. That would be epic. I would love to see that. But for this, that would be all too much because while Friendship is Magic doesn't have a lot of lore, I mean, there's still a lot, but it's very simplistic. You could look it up on a wiki. That's not good for new people. And I feel like that would have been exposition dump everywhere. And, I feel like if people were watching this, they'd be like, I mean, this is cool and all, but like, this is My Little Pony. I came for the cute, funny stuff. So, again, because this is a movie TV pilot thingy, the TV series will go into that. So I'm glad they're saving it for that if they're willing to do that. I hope they are because there's a lot they got to address with Generation 4. And like they presented the main six in a really good light at the beginning of the movie, which I really liked that they did that for G4 fans. Um, but like there's still kind of like this question of so Twilight and her friends and also Twilight became the princess and everything. All of her work began like throughout the years, like that whole entire thing just crumbled. And that's not for like many G4 fans, that's leaving them completely unsettling. A lot of fans, I'm not even going to go into full detail of that one, but they brought up the Star Wars sequel trilogy and how they handled Luke. That's up to you how you feel about that, but they brought that up as an example. And I'm like, yeah, it would be good for them to address the elephant in the room. Maybe not now, but address it at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I just because when the movie started, I was just like, wait a minute, because it started out with that great animation of the Generation 4 ponies. I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna explain what happened, and then they didn't. I was like, well, why does everybody hate each other? And I was like, well, I do hope they do make either a sequel or a show, which we are going to talk about that in a minute. Because I was just like, well, now I want to know what happened. Was it something completely stupid, or was it like a big thing? It probably won't be a big thing, like, but yeah, no, so you're not upset that they didn't, well, I mean, upset's not the right word, but you're not bothered by the fact that they didn't explain it.
Yeah, I'm not bothered, just mostly because new people had to get into the series, and a lot of my friends who never watched G4 or they watched half of it, they got really hooked into it. So I'm glad I have that to share with them, because if it was exposition dump the movie, I don't think they would have touched it afterwards.
Right on. Yeah, my wife was bummed that she didn't get to watch this with us for our movie night. And I was like, well, hey, you're the one that joined a pool league, so not my problem. One thing that I did write down, and I'll ask you what you feel about it, but I personally did not like that flying Pomeranian. I just didn't like it. I didn't like all the flying creatures. Like I think they had like rats that had wings, and I was like, what is that? Like, I don't like it. What did you think about that kind of stuff?
I thought it was cool. Definitely the Pomeranian was definitely my favorite. I just thought it was, the way it was animated was cute. So I'm sure the series will do something funny and cute with that. So can't wait for that. Also, like there was toy leaks a while back,
Oh, gotcha.
where
Oh, yeah,
there
I think I saw that.
where it was like the rabbits had unicorn horns, which that was not in the movie. I like the designs of the bunnies. I think I forgot. I think it was like turtles, and they had wings on them and like other stuff. So I'm glad that they're doing something different with the animals this time around, instead of making them pretty, basic animals. Or there's like a nice middle ground of like basic animals, but like creative designed animals. So I like it. It makes it different from Generation 4. So I like it.
Right on. Um, do you well, okay. What was your favorite song in this movie?
So Blowing Up, controversial. I actually really like that one.
That's my
Sophia
favorite one too.
Sophia did a good job. Like Sophia can make random lyrics work. So it was that I like that one, and also Fit Right In,
Right on.
the Izzy song.
Yeah. I did like that one too. But the glowing up was it was just a bop that I was just like I
Yeah.
was dancing to it, and I was all like, like you said, it made no sense, but I was like, this is my favorite song. I'm like literally
I was
dancing to
actually
it.
surprised that that song wasn't a huge focus in the movie, because it brings up like a plot point of like the unicorns not, or not the unicorns, but the Pegasi not being able to fly, but like working through that. I was shocked they didn't do a whole thing about that with that song. Uh, Mostly because you would think they would, just mostly because of how Generation 4 handled songs. So I was shocked about that one, but it's still a bop.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no,
Oh,
I
also, It's All Right. I like that one. The song where the during the Dance Revolution part.
Oh, yeah. No, I think I like my second favorite one was the one, although I did like the one that Izzy sang too. So yeah, I'm gonna say the one that Izzy sang then, I guess, because but I did like that first one. Um It's Gonna Be My Day.
Yeah, that's good too.
I liked that one, but yeah, no, the Izzy one is definitely my second favorite one because I did like that one too. Okay. So now you brought this up earlier and I have it in my questions anyway. So this was trending and everything, but it wasn't number one on Netflix's top 10. Does that surprise you at all?
It doesn't surprise me, and the reason why I say this is because it's a kids thing. Not being mean by any means, not saying animation isn't for grown people too, but Netflix has this trend of they got a new adult TV show or a new adult movie alongside they have the family section, and the family section tends to be in that top 5, maybe 3. I think Mitchelson's versus the Machines. I think that was kind of in that area of like 2s and 3s. So I'm not too shocked about that. But also, back when My Little Pony Friendship was Magic was in its heyday on Netflix, because a good couple of years that show would trend a lot. It was in that category of numbers in terms of family section, but also like outside of the family section. The
Right
top
on.
tens were weird back then, and it still is now, but it's in that area of, yeah, you could tell Ponies is definitely back.
Right on. Yeah, when the last time I checked before this, it was at number 4 on my Netflix. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it'll be different by the time I wake up tomorrow. Um, so I wanted to ask you, I have 2 more questions for you. The first one is about the very ending, like post-credit scene.
Yes.
So you have these 3 ponies, one of each, and they're just being all friends and stuff, and then they run along, and then the ground pony, she's pouncing along, and her footprints are glowing with a heart. Now, I didn't know what this meant, and I was wondering if this meant anything as far as the My Little Pony lore, or yeah. So does
Okay.
this mean
So
anything?
so no one knows. This is a
Okay.
huge mystery, but I could say this. Considering when the magic returned and everyone got their horns and everything, there's an aura of like kind of like different colors. So that was the hoof print. The 3 kid ponies, we think it's the new Cutie Mark Crusaders because we have the main cast and then we have those 3 kid characters. So it's no shock that they're going to be either the new Cutie Mark Crusaders or just 3 kid characters to have in the cast.
Right on. Okay, so for my last question that I have for you is oh no, I have 2 questions. Oh, sorry. My notes, I need to fix that. Okay. Okay, so was there anything from Friendship is Magic that you wish they would have had in this movie, or maybe bring into the TV series? If they make a TV series, are they still planning on doing the TV
Yeah, the TV
series?
series is happening. It's happening spring of next year.
Okay. Is there anything from Friendship is Magic that you want them to, or that you wish they would have brought into this movie, and that you hope that they bring into the TV series?
Okay, so I thought the interesting thing about this was the fact that it was new characters, which I don't mind, but I thought it would be interesting if they brought in Pinkie Pie's children. I know they're like, depending on how old Equestria is by this point, she would probably have grandkids upon grandkids upon grandkids. So I thought it would have been interesting if one of her descendants ended up in the cast, but that didn't happen. So that would have been interesting to see if it did.
Right on. One thing I did miss was Spike. I was like, oh, I wish that they had a Spike adjacent character.
Speaking of that, so I don't know what's going to happen to the dragons going forward, but there was leaks for Generation 5. I don't know how believable this one is, but they had an idea of having a dragon type character, and they were like, hey, you know what would be cool if we combine Kylo Ren but make it a dragon? I'm like, I want that. Give me that.
Mm.
So if that happens, I like the idea. If not, I'm still looking forward to dragons in the series.
Right on. I don't know how much they could do this, but I also like that Lord Tarek. I always liked him in
He
the
could
show.
return.
Yeah, I
He
always
could
liked
actually
him.
return. Same with Chrysalis and Cozy Glow. They could easily return because someone, of course, the fandom was doing a lot of snooping in the background to find anything they could, and they found Krogar's bell, which that
Oh,
was
okay.
tied to a whole thing with those 3 characters, and plus those 3 returned into stone. So because Discord returned from not being in stone, those 3 could possibly easily come back if they wanted to.
Right on. I love how fandoms, like, they'll literally take a trailer and they'll go shot by shot and like zoom in and be like, what is that? Be like,
Yeah, there was so much like I
like,
forgot. I think it was probably the day the movie came out. There was in the train station where Zip hangs out. There was a drawing of one of the things from Equestria Girls,
mm,
and one of the characters had this huge thing of being mad that everyone forgot her because she had like, I think it was like anxiety or something, I forgot, but she would essentially wipe people's memories of everything, so people are
mm.
thinking that MacGuffin or whatever probably is why everyone forgot about the history of Equestria and why the divide happened. So that would be interesting if that that fanon idea is real, or if that was just something they threw in the background because, hey, look, G4.
Right on. Yeah, I don't like Equestria girls. So okay. So my last question for you is, okay, so there's going to be a TV series and everything, but do you think that
Before,
it's possible?
oh wait, hang on.
Go ahead.
Before that, there is I think it's like a 40-minute movie. I don't know when that one's coming out. So
Oh, so there will be a sequel.
essentially, yeah, kind
Oh
of.
shoot. Well, that was going to be my question to you. Do you think a sequel is possible? Do you, after the thing? Okay, so then I'll hold on. I'll just get rid of that question real quick. Here we go. All right. So moving. So after this movie comes out and there's a TV show and another movie and everything, what would you like to see going forward?
I'm not really sure.
Hmm.
The one thing I will say is Sunny becoming an alicorn is kind of weird because her, like the horn and the wings, they didn't really turn into an actual part of her. It was just more of like a translucent. So I'm
Yeah.
curious if it does become like actually like an actual horn and wings. Like I'm kind of curious where they'll go with Alicorn Sunny.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I thought that was weird because some of the Pegasus, they look like their wings were glowing. And I was all like, okay, like maybe that's the magic coming back and everything.
That
But
was that for them because they actually have those things
yeah,
actually
but
on
and
them.
yeah, and
But for
hers,
Sunny, it was translucent.
yeah, I was gonna, yeah, I should have wrote that down because when I saw that, I was all like, that's so weird because Twilight Sparkle, it was just drawn into her. So, yeah, I wonder what they're gonna do with that.
Because
That's a
on the
good one.
toy, the wings are like an actual yellow, and
Hmm.
then the horn is still like a translucent, but you can tell it's still yellow. So I'm curious if they'll actually commit to the toy design or what they're going to do with that one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with that also.
But in terms of like after that, I have no clue, considering how, because the movie was just so easy going, there wasn't like the adventure was very small scale. I don't know where they can really go forward after this because I feel like the TV series is just going to go into typical season one, season two, Friendship's Magic, slice of life stories, maybe some small adventures thrown in there. But like as of right now, since it's such a baby right now, we can't really tell where they're going to go next. So I'm curious what new things they'll do and what old things they'll bring back. But in terms of like direction, I can't even tell.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was thinking about is when I watch shows that are kind of set in this magical world, I like the mixture of technology and magic and that them constantly butting heads but yet trying to coexist in the same world. And with this one, what I noticed a lot, there was a lot more technology as far as like technology, like they had phones, and I was like, oh, okay, the ponies have phones now. And so I'm like, I wonder, now that magic has been reintroduced into this world, I would like to see the mixture of technology and magic and to see what that brings to Equestria and all that whole thing.
Yeah, same here. The one thing I will say that I like about it is it's essentially I don't know how to say, but you're a bit older than me because you
Oh,
remember
you can say I'm
you're
old, it's fine.
yeah, because you mentioned this before. You grew up with the very first generation one of ponies when it
Yeah,
came out.
at least I think they were I'm pretty sure they were generation 1, but yeah, I grew up with those, yeah.
And like somewhere along the lines there was My Little Ponytails, where it was, I think it was all Earth ponies, but I could be wrong. But essentially, it was just ponies in a human setting, and everything was just completely grounded, no magic. It was just ponies just doing Arthur like things or whatever, slice of life type of things. And I was like, I want essentially that, but a little bit more. But I'm okay with the adventure stuff because as the show went on, it kind of lost what made like after the adventure stuff so important and fun. So I hope we see a bit more of like the more slice of life stuff, because that was like in terms of Generation 4, like that was my favorite part, was just seeing Pinkie Pie in some sort of comedic situation with some sort of moral.
Right on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, that was it.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, listen, My Little Pony, A New Generation is streaming now on Netflix. So if you have a subscription, you can go ahead and check that out on Netflix. If you guys can subscribe to our channels. Like I said before, I will leave a link to Speed Force Spector's social medias and his YouTube channel. So make sure to go check out stuff. He does some really great stuff over there, especially with trolls and everything. If you want, you can go ahead and leave a comment in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. You know, I won't mind. Speed Force, you won't mind either.
I wouldn't mind.
Awesome. And we will check you guys later. You guys have a good night. Bye.